Hey, you. Welcome to the Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lancia, a Thirsty Thursday edition of the Sweat coming your way, which is why we're starting the show with my favorite DraftKings thirst trap, Ross Tucker. Ross Tucker, good morning. How are you? Look at that smile. You are beautiful. How are you, dude?
Emerson, I am fantastic. I'm coming to you live from an undisclosed hotel in Houston, calling the game tonight between the Eagles and the
Yeah.
Texans. I like that Thirsty Thursday. I like that. I might be a little thirsty after this game tonight.
I bet. I mean, it's not a glamorous game on paper here, dude, but it's a chance to watch Jalen Hurts continue this MVP caliber season he's on. What chance are you giving the Texans to pull off the upset and ruin Philly's undefeated season? Come on.
I'm not giving them a big chance to pull off the upset. Talking spread or covering the spread might be a little bit different, but studying this for this game and watching these two teams, yikes, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, now I will say this. This is a formula for an upset. It's a short week, Thursday night game. The Eagles are on the road. Everyone knows the Texans aren't very good. Everybody in Philadelphia is talking about the Phillies.
Yep.
And turnovers are the great equalizer. The Eagles have been unbelievable. They only have 2 turnovers all year so far, but stranger things have happened. Maybe Miles Sanders fumbles and Hurts fumbles or throws an interception. For the Texans to have any chance, man, they have to win the turnover margin by at least 2. I mean, that's the reality.
Yeah. Hey, looking at this team, though, all right, so they win tonight, right, Ross? They'll go to 8-0. Where right now would you rank this team among best Eagles squads that you have watched and seen? Or is it too early to put them in that conversation?
Well, of course it's too early
Yeah.
because what really matters ultimately is what they do in January. And unless they get to the Super Bowl and win it, they're not going to be considered to be up there with the 2017 team or even the 2004 team
Yep.
that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. But based on where they are right now, I mean, Emerson, they got a great chance tonight to go 8-0 for the first time in franchise history. And it's ridiculous, bro. Like, I have all these stats for tonight's game in prepping. They're like top 5 in everything. I mean, Jalen Hurts, almost every quarterback category, top 5. Miles Sanders, top 5 rushing. A.J. Brown, top 5 receiving. Dallas Goedert as a tight end, top 5 in receiving yards. He's number 3. Then you look at defensively across the board, the corners, the sacks. I mean, it's so far that they have a loaded roster. They have an awesome team. They need to stay healthy. They need to keep it going. But teams are throwing at them everything they got, and nobody's come up with a way to stop them yet.
Yeah, I forget. I know that they went 13-3 in 2017. I forgot how they started, but I do know that that team played in the Super Bowl in Jacksonville in 2004. So that was a 13-1 start, and that led to the first trip to the Super Bowl since 1980. This team does appear to have all the makings of being another one of those historic teams in this franchise's history. And speaking of history here, Ross, that was a historic trade deadline we saw around the NFL, man. Which team made the best move? Which team gets Ross Tucker's seal of approval?
I'll go Dolphins. Now, listen, I'm not sure that Bradley Chubb is an elite player and necessarily worthy of trading a first-round pick and giving him whatever it is, $20 million a year, but he's good. And it's a position of need for the Dolphins. And I kind of look at the Dolphins being like tier 2. Emerson,
Mhm.
I do the power rankings every Tuesday on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and I have the Dolphins, Ravens, and Titans kind of that second tier below the Bills and the Chiefs, which is interesting because the Ravens made a move, and obviously the Dolphins made a move to try to get up to tier 1, to try to be able to win those playoff games in January, and I respect it. They needed an edge rusher opposite Jalen Phillips. They needed the ability to get more pressure on the quarterback. Chubb's had some serious injuries, torn ACL, foot injuries, missed a bunch of games. But when he's been healthy, he's been pretty productive. He might not be TJ Watt or Micah Parsons, but he's better than what they got.
Yeah, for sure. And he reportedly agreed to that $110 million extension as well, which isn't like the $1.5 billion like Powerball, not nearly as good, but it's still like not too shabby. The Colts, The Colts shipped off Naeem Hines. They benched Matt Ryan. They have dumped their offensive coordinator. What the hell is going on in Indianapolis?
Well, I'll tell you what's going on. It's desperate times call for desperate measures. And it's like Emerson, there's like a bomb about to go off
Yep.
in which everybody gets fired, and they're not sure how to defuse the bomb. So I'm loving my analogy right now, by the way.
Yeah,
This is amazing.
You're crushing
and
it.
like I literally just invented this 6 seconds ago. And they're like pushing every button they can to try to turn the bomb off. Let's bench the quarterback. Let's move around the whole offensive line. Let's fire the offensive coordinator. You know, Frank Reich is pressing every button he can because he knows if he doesn't press the right one, the bomb's going to go off, and he and a lot of other people are going to be fired. You can use that the rest of the show and the rest of the week. That was amazing.
Working into every segment. Now they find themselves 5.5-point underdogs on the road against the Patriots this week. We also have the Bucs visiting the Rams. Maybe a difficult game to pick here, though, Ross, because both sides have lost 3 of their last 4. Which side needs this more? Which side is more desperate right now?
Yeah, I'll say the Rams just because their division's better. You know, Seattle's playing well and has a good record, as we know. You know, San Francisco looks like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They both need the win desperately. We know that. But it still feels like there's a chance the Bucs could lose, go to 3-6, Tom Brady 3-6, and still maybe win that division because the NFC South is so bad. Whereas the Rams, they can't afford to get too far behind.
Dude, AFC game of the week? Chiefs and Titans here, 2 division leaders. Why is Kansas City almost a 2-touchdown favorite, though? I don't get it. Derrick Henry's running for 200 yards, it feels like, every week.
Yeah, it's a quarterback situation, man.
Okay.
I mean, you either have Tannehill on a gimpy ankle, which isn't good because his mobility is a decent part of what makes him effective. You know, he's pretty athletic, moving around the pocket. He runs for a couple first downs a game. And then if he can't play and it's Malik Willis, there's just not a lot of faith in Malik Willis. And even the Titans don't. They did everything they could to hide him last week because they went against the Texans and they could. And they didn't want him to throw the ball, like, at all. And then he did. He threw the ball one time in the second half. So I think that spread right now is reflective of the quarterback situation. I will say that if it's announced Tannehill's playing,
Yeah.
I kind of like the Titans getting all those points. But you got to jump on it right away.
Yeah, Kansas City 0-3 ATS at Arrowhead Stadium this season, so they're going to need to break that losing skid on Sunday night. A.J. Brown went off last week. Christian McCaffrey throwing, catching, running for touchdowns. Give me someone who's going to go off in the land of fantasy here in Week 9.
Well, this is kind of for you, man. I'm doing this for you.
Hell yeah, brother! Let's go!
Travis Etienne.
Oh, yeah.
He's a star.
Oh.
The Jacksonville Jaguars have a star skill position player from Clemson, and his name's not Trevor Lawrence. It's Travis Etienne. It's unbelievable. There's so many ridiculous stats out there about Etienne. You know, the yards he's getting, making people miss. He's a stud, and I think Doug Peterson knows that. I think Doug Peterson knows the Raiders are struggling right now, and Trevor Lawrence isn't playing that great. So they're going to continue to feed the beast that is Travis Etienne. Get him before his salary goes way too high. Get him before everybody knows that the salaries.
Yeah.
What I know, which is that he's a star.
I mean, shipping off James Robinson just fully unlocked Etienne's potential. And then don't even get me started on Calvin Ridley, baby. #1 wide receiver for Trevor Lawrence next year, dude. Hey, Sunday, so you're calling the Eagles game tonight. So Sunday, you're not calling any games, right?
Correct.
All right, so it's like what are your plans? Like, which game are you going to be dialed into then on Sunday?
Well, the first plan would be going to my daughter's field hockey games in the morning before the NFL games start.
Okay.
They have not scored a goal or won a game yet. Not great. They're in the playoffs somehow. Playoff expansion's just gone crazy.
They're like the Texans then of that field hockey league, huh?
Yeah, but they make the playoffs. I don't know what's going on with this youth field hockey league. But I'm intrigued by the Vikings and the Commanders. Vikings are really good. They just made the trade for Hawkinson. The Commanders don't look now. They've won a few games in a row. they're rallying around Heineke, and with the news coming out that the Commanders are exploring a sale of the franchise,
Yep.
I am really curious to see what the environment is like at FedEx Field in the Kirk Cousins revenge game. It might be like a celebration or a party for these people, thinking that Daniel Snyder will no longer be the owner.
Vikings 3.5-point road favorites, baby. There's no way they can cover Justin Jefferson either, the Commanders. Ross, we love you. Mean it. Enjoy tonight. Have a good call tonight. Enjoy, hopefully, your kids' team scoring a goal on Sunday there in field hockey, dude. And we'll catch up with you next week, okay?
Yeah, I just want a goal. Just one goal.
Just one damn goal.
Something to build on for next year. Just one goal. Thank you, man.
What a disappointing child. Okay, man. We'll dive more into Thursday Night Football coming up after this. Jalen Hurts is coming home. Back in Houston tonight, leading his undefeated Eagles against the Texans. Hot diggity damn. Biggest Thursday night road favorite? 13.5 points. That is disgusting. So Hurts, Josh Allen, and Patty Mayonnaise, by the way, top 3 MVP candidates in the NFL this season. It's true. You could just take a gander at the DK Sportsbook. DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich are here. Need your picks for tonight, gentlemen. We'll start in DFS. Jeffrey, Jalen Hurts has taken the league by storm this season, is coming off a fantastic performance against the Steelers last week. Does he get your nod at captain? That's like $1 bajillion to score here.
I don't even – I mean, like, there's no argument, really. I mean, you look at Philly, I mean, again, like we're talking DFS. It's not like other players on Philly aren't going to score, but this isn't a team with a main carry running back. You've got Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown kind of going back and forth. Obviously, A.J. Brown could score 3 touchdowns again, but you really want to just bet on that happening? And who is going to be throwing him the touchdowns anyways if he does score? Jalen Hurts hasn't rushed much the last couple games. I kind of expect that to change here tonight. We've got a Houston team who doesn't defend against the – he doesn't do anything well, really. But especially against the rush, they're awful. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to take well advantage of that tonight. He knows it's a primetime game. The team's coming off a short week. They want to just blow this team out, just absolutely put them to bed early so he can get off the field in the third quarter. Jalen Hurts is the only captain play you need to think about on the Philly side. Now, if you want to be contrarian, I will say this. It's Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce is the dude. He's going to get about 30 touches in this game because nobody else is healthy. They have no other option. They're going to give Dameon Pierce the ball when they're down 30 in this game. So he is viable. He's the main carry running back. Those are always viable in any game, but realistically, if you're looking at Philly, it's got to be Hurts.
I mean, Pierce averaging nearly 20 DraftKings points per game over his last 5 games. But let's go, Pierce. Who's your captain tonight, dude?
It's going to be Jalen Hurts. You don't really need to overthink it. We talked about the advanced numbers coming into the season, all the things that he had done to improve his game, and you saw it perfectly in his last game. He is absolutely pinpoint accurate. I mean, maybe you want to try to go an alternative route and pivot to A.J. Brown. He did have 3 touchdowns last week. You think, oh, well, he's going to draw double teams and bracket coverage. Well, those 3 touchdowns were in double teams. They were in bracket coverage. So he's going to get his points as well. But like Jeff pointed out, if AJ scores, then Jalen scores, and Jalen also gets points on the ground. Maybe you want to go with the running backs because Houston has a poor rush defense, but touchdowns aren't necessarily guaranteed to the running backs. In fact, they're more likely to go to Hurts. You look in the NFL, who's got more rushes inside the 5? The most belong to Jalen Hurts. So every category checks the box. Just don't overthink it. Take him.
Yeah, last Sunday's game marked the 5th time this season, by the way, that the MVP candidate scored 20 or more DraftKings points in a game. When it comes to the Texans, there's not a single dude priced over $9K in the flex spot. So, Pierce, are you looking to the Houston side of things for your value play tonight?
Yeah, that's where you're going to go and try to get some cheap points, especially if you want to pay up for the Eagles and their receivers and maybe their running back. I'm looking at Rex Burkhead in a game that we're projecting to be a blowout. I mean, that's what the line suggests. It's not going to be close. And Houston will still likely give the ball to Dameon Pierce way too many times in a blowout, but there's still in the third and fourth quarter going to be plenty of check down opportunities for Burkhead to get some PPR garbage time. Maybe he finds his way into the end zone. He doesn't necessarily have to get into the end zone at that price. Just basic garbage PPR points in a blowout. And you look at Philadelphia's cornerbacks, they're going to give the receivers a pretty hard time. So Burkhead's going to be probably Mills' only option. And the Eagles technically rank in the bottom third against receiving running backs. So there's a little bit of value here.
Okay, Jeff, there's some uncertainty surrounding Cooks and Collins. Do you maybe look at a Texans wide receiver here?
I mean, yeah, Collins is just, I don't know what he's doing. He's off the proverbial reservation. So, Chris Moore.
Yep.
Philip Dorsett. Everyone's getting excited about Dorsett here. I think it's actually Chris Moore you should probably be looking at for value. He's the slot dude. But the Eagles are not going to let Philip Dorsett beat them downfield. No wide receiver beats the Eagles downfield. Dorsett certainly isn't going to change that. So Chris Moore will probably get a healthy amount of targets here. If there is some garbage time action, he could just start piling up, 5 or 6 catches. That's probably where you should go. But there's cheaper options. I mean, Brevin Jordan is 1,000. He had 4 targets. I think it was actually second on the Texans last week. He's back. He's playing 56% of the snaps. I expect he'll probably get, if they do get in the red zone, we'll probably get a target down there. There's a chance that they don't. The value play I really like, and again, like we can talk about the Texans, but like these guys are such crapshoots. I think you're going to see Boston Scott tonight at 2,700. That's where I would go. Philly likes to mix in their running backs anyways, and if this game gets out of hand, which it's almost certainly going to do by the third quarter, you probably won't see Miles Sanders play the last quarter. So Boston Scott, I think, is very viable tonight at 2,700.
All right, so we got Philly entering this matchup as the 2-touchdown favorite. So really 13.5 points now on the DK Sportsbook. Feels like a lot to lay down here, Jeff, especially since the Texans have lost by that much only once this season. So which side of the spread are you on? I remember yesterday on last night's edition of the slate, I think you said this would actually be a stay-away spot for you?
Yeah, I've changed my mind since then. In the immortal words of Michael Scott, it is over, people. We are screwed. There's no chance here for the Texans. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, they don't have any wide receivers. Davis Mills has regressed over the last couple games. Teams have obviously figured out that what they're going to do is just give the ball to Dameon Pierce. Anything. I mean, the other thing is, like, this line has moved back to under 14 for some weird reason. I guess people were, some of the sharp money, so to speak, sharp money, getting a piece of that plus 14 Houston. Look, it's the NFL. I mean, nothing is a lock here, so I'm not going to try and overstate this. But, yeah, this is, Philly, they had a bye 2 weeks ago. They had an easy time of it against Pittsburgh. It's a primetime game for Jalen Hurts. I think they're absolutely just going to roll over here, or roll the Texans over, I should say, and cover this. I don't really want any part of the Texans anymore. No thanks.
Pierce, how do you feel about Houston covering tonight?
There's that slight feeling of David and Goliath.
Yeah.
But here's the deal with David and Goliath.
Oh.
The Giant was expecting hand-to-hand combat, and the sheepherder rolled up with a slingshot, knocked him unconscious, and then cut his head off. David cheated. The Texans cannot cheat. They have to play by the rules. So the whole idea of David and Goliath, it's not like it was an upset. The guy cheated. Texans, they can't cheat. They got to play by the rules. And in that case, Philadelphia is going to probably cut their heads off. So I will take the Eagles by 1,000,000 points. This game's going to be over by the first quarter.
Wait, so David is a fraud? That's what you're telling me?
Major fraud. It absolutely is. I mean, it's in the Bible. You can read it once in a while.
No, for sure, dude. For sure. Absolutely. I love reading books. What's your player prop? What's your player prop tonight, Pierce? Texans have scored just, 4 touchdowns over the last 3 games, and rookie running back Dameon Pierce has been responsible for 2 of those. He's plus 130 to take a trip to the end zone tonight.
Yeah, my prop is really weak. It's not going to make you rich, but it's incredibly safe, and it's that Davis Mills throws an interception at minus 200. Again, you're not making a lot of money, but this probably should be minus 300 or minus 400. Davis Mills has thrown a pick in 4 of his last 5, 6 total. He's a guy that throws interceptions. We all know that. And the Eagles are a team that grabs interceptions. They're second in the league in interceptions per game. And you've got Darius Slay back there, pretty much a legendary ball hawk. He is an INT machine. You've got Bradbury on the other side. There's just no way that Davis Mills escapes this game without throwing a pick. Probably throws pick 6.
Jeff, what's your player prop?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick again. Like, this feels like a night where you want some big time exposure to the Philly offense. Like, in case this one just they put up 40, which I think is a real chance. And if that happens, you're gonna see, like I said, some of these backup running backs get involved. I think Boston Scott at plus 425 to score a touchdown is fine. He gets mixed in anyways. There's going to be 1,000,000 red zone trips for the Philly offense. Maybe Hurts grabs the first one and puts him up 14-0 or something. But at some point, like, he's going to take the pedal off the gas, be like, yeah, I don't really want to run anymore. I don't need to injure myself. He's just going to start handing the ball off to guys like Boston Scott. So I would even look down. I mean, you can take Scott, you could add him in and maybe add like a Quez Watkins or something. I mean, it's time to get a little crazy. Gainwell, you could go Gainwell and Scott, but looking at looking down the Eagles roster tonight, I think could be profitable for the touchdown. I think a couple of these guys we just don't see pop up too much are going to pop up because the fourth quarter is probably just going to be all backups playing.
All right, guys, good stuff. Appreciate you. So what I just learned is David is a fraud. The dude had to cheat in order to knock off Goliath, and to win in the real world, you must cheat. The Astros have done this before, but last night, let me tell you something. Before last night, for the last 66 years here, guys, Don Larson, and only Don Larson, was the only dude to throw a no-hitter in the World Series. So, of course, 24 hours after watching the Phillies tee off like they knew what was coming against Houston, the Houston Astros combined, 4 of them combined, to log the second no-hitter in World Series history. And Christian Javier became an instant legend. And speaking of legends, Steve Buchanan sliding in like an actual pro, a real-life pro here on this desk. How the hell was Houston able to quiet those Philly bats that were just so unbelievably good 24 hours earlier?
No, it's absolutely amazing. And it kind of goes back to my sentiment about this feeling that no team can really get any momentum going in this series. It's literally volleyed back and forth with how this series has played out. You know, one team wins, the next night the team that lost takes the win here. Like, after a night where the Astros gave up, 5 home runs, the Astros come back the next night and tossed a no-hitter. Like it doesn't. Like once you feel like the
None of
team,
this makes sense.
it doesn't. And once you feel like you feel strong about a team, the next time we go out and they they go down to a no-hitter. So it's been remarkable. This is probably like the best type of series that you can get because it's not lopsided. Like it's literally every night a coin flip, and that's how it truly feels night in and night out.
I mean, was last night more of no hit is an extreme example here, but last night was more of like kind of the Philly bats that I think many people expected in the postseason, not to just be hammering away at taters left and right.
Well, truly, like this is the story of the whole Philly season. This is the team that was under 90 wins.
Yeah.
You know, the last couple of days of the regular season, we didn't even know if they were going to make the postseason. Like that was a huge thing. They were fighting to hold on to their last wild card spot from the Brewers. They were trying to stave them off, and so they kind of limped into the playoffs. We really didn't know what to expect, and then they knock off the Cardinals. They knock off the Braves. Like they knocked off the Padres. Like it's been a remarkable run for them, but this is really the story of this team all season long. They go into these extreme hot and cold streaks, and again, being no hit is an extreme example, but that's just really how this Phillies season has gone all season long.
So who do we have tonight? We got Verlander, we got Syndergaard going in Game 5 in Philly before this series shifts back to Houston. So these two actually started the regular season against each other back in April. When it comes to DFS, I know Eric Halterman has been on the show before. Said you got to start with the starting pitchers.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
No, you can't. You can't do it tonight.
DFS?
No, I especially not for like a captain spot. Because like from what we've seen from Justin Verlander in these playoffs, he's been downright atrocious, right? Yeah. Really, aside from that start against the Seattle Mariners, which rest in peace, we love you. He's been god awful. And as of right now, he's statistically one of the worst pitchers in World Series history. Right now, it's amazing how bad that Verlander has been. So I'm just going with one of the bats here. I'm going with Alex Bregman here. I think he's one of the better DFS plays tonight. He's been great all throughout this World Series, really through the postseason. He's got plenty of pop. And let's kind of call this game for what it is. The Phillies are basically running an extended bullpen game. Noah Syndergaard is not going to go deep into this game. No. He is not somebody I'm looking at here. He's made 3 appearances in the playoffs, hasn't gone more than 6 innings combined, and that includes a start that he had against the Braves, only threw 30 pitches in that start. He was out of there right quick. So I don't think Syndergaard is going to be going deep into this game. And
short leash tonight.
Yeah, and Verlander, he's very hard to trust right now. So I'm going with definitely one of the hitters. I think Bregman's that guy.
It's interesting, too, because Syndergaard has said that Verlander is like one of his idols as well. So,
yeah, sure.
Tonight should be an exciting moment for him. He's only pitched once, I believe, previously in this postseason. But Bryce Harper's MVP odds went from plus 150 before Game 4, right, to plus 390 right now. So he's still the favorite on the DK Sportsbook, but Tucker and Bregman close behind at plus 450 and plus 500 respectively. Got an MVP pick right now ahead of Game 5. Who would it be?
Yeah, this is pretty tough because there really isn't anybody who has distanced themselves from the field. Like you could make the argument that Harper has been that guy, but do you feel like the Phillies are still going to win? That's really what it comes down to here. You really have to kind of decide who's going to be the winner here and who's going to end up taking down this MVP. There's a couple guys that I think you could go to here. I think Kyle Schwarber is somebody that you could look at a little bit of longer odds here. Maybe he hasn't had some of the flashier moments that Bryce Harper has had, but he's been pivotal in some of these key spots for the Phillies thus far. He's had some really good hits here. And on the Astro side, Yuli Gurriel is not somebody that we talk about here, but he hasn't struck out almost the entire postseason. It's been a remarkable run for him. He's consistently getting hits here too as well. So he's a name that if you want to go down the board a little bit here, I think could make a little bit of noise here as we get down into the wire. So I think Gurriel is something you can make a look at as well. But truly, like this is really still wide open right now. We still need like that key moment or that key performance from somebody. Because if the series ended last night, would you really have like someone that was obvious that would have won the MVP?
No,
I don't
because
think you
you'd look back to the previous night and be like, man, there's like Schwarber you could go through the home run. I mean, there's Bryce Harper who even in Game 2 sucked and went 0 for 4, but you can't do that coming off like guys being no hit.
Right, for sure.
What about since the series is at 2-2 right now? Any value at all in like betting a series correct score?
Yeah.
Any World Series futures right now? So you can get like if you want to say the Astros end up winning these next two, plus 165 odds. So, I mean, it's plus money all over the board. Longest odds would be Phillies winning in 6 at plus 450.
Yeah, so I mean, I do think once all said is done that the Astros are going to win this series here. With it's how this is laid out here, I do think the Astros win tonight, but I think the Phillies can take Game 6 when they go back to Houston here. So if that's kind of the mentality that I'm at here, then you can get Houston 4-3 for the score. You're getting that at plus 225. I think that's the one that you can make a play at here. But truly, I think this has been one of the most difficult series to figure out what's going to happen the next night. Because even that game a couple nights ago with Ranger Suarez going against the Astros were one of the best teams in the league against lefties. They have been that way all throughout the season. Ranger Suarez absolutely silenced those bats. That's not something that I think I or a lot of us thought that was going to happen here. So I think this is going to go 7. I think Houston's going to win it in Game 7, 225. At a 43 score, I think that's the one you can go with.
Okay, before you take off, what's the game bet for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to go right back with Alex Bregman. I think take him to go over 1.5 bases tonight. Like I mentioned, this has been a great spot for him all throughout the postseason. Really does
Clutch
really well
double
against righties, right? And I think this is just a game where you're going to see a lot of the Phillies bullpen, and that's probably the advantage to Alex Bregman here. So give me him to go over 1.5 bases tonight against Syndergaard, and then whoever they run out after the bullpen.
Thank you, my dude.
Hey, thanks
Appreciate
very
much. We got some hockey picks to dive into, everybody, because it's Edmonton and New Jersey, which you know what that means. The battle of number 1 picks, McDavid and Hughes, the division-leading Devils in Edmonton. We got some DFS plays being delivered by Pete Jensen coming up after this break.
You want to be a showstopper? You want to be awesome? Then you'll want to have a game plan. Whether you're a champion or a bettor, you got to be responsible. Have a realistic budget? Then bet within your means. Set a time limit, then stick to it. And use the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps. They offer all these tools and more so you can practice safe bets. Can I get a mic to drop?
Hold up. DraftKings, you're telling me that you're boosting same-game parlays? Well, that's big time. Actually, big is big enough. We're going to need a new word. Jumbo munganous. No, monstremendous. Gargantuloso. Ah, see? The pink duck gets it.
DraftKings stepped up same-game parlays. Boost your winnings up to 100% for our biggest payouts ever. Action's so good, why bet NFL anywhere else?
What'd you say, Carl?
Baseball's dead? Nah. We've got pitchers hitting grand slams, a team playing a 4-man outfield, and the best crop of major league talent maybe ever. Baseball is alive and well, and it's about to get even better. Bet just $5 to get 100 in free bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, bet $5 to get 100 instantly, and get in on the action.
Man, 13-game NHL slate tonight. That's what I'm talking about. Check out some of the top priced DFS plays on the menu this evening. Brad Marchand, he's back, baby. 3 goals and an apple. Oh, my God, he just returned 4 days ago. Pete Jensen, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about some of the best plays tonight. Real quick, though, Devils are in action. As I just mentioned, Marchand, the Bruins in action. Which one has been the biggest surprise to you so far this season?
I think the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they're carrying possession, top 5 in the NHL in shot attempts percentage. They also lead the NHL in shots on goal per game, and they're allowing the fewest, which is something I really never would have expected. They're getting decent to low-end goaltending right now, and they're one of the best teams and biggest surprises of the season so far. They actually have another layer to reach if they get any better goaltending. And even if a guy like Jack Hughes starts to find the back of the net a little bit more, it's crazy. Actually, Jesper Bratt is doing as well as he has. He's playing with Jack Hughes, who hasn't quite hit his ceiling this particular season.
Yeah.
So that's a scary thing for anybody on the fringe looking to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. There's yet another team in the mix right now with surprising New Jersey.
Yeah, does Hughes crack your lineup tonight? Maybe McDavid does in either one of those number 1 picks at center?
That could be a high-scoring game, no doubt. One guy, though, that I'm really looking at favorably is Mika Zibanejad, New York Rangers against the Boston Bruins. That's another game that could get on the higher scoring end. And I just really trust what Zibanejad's putting forth so far this season. At least 4 shots on goal in 8 of his 11 games this season. He's averaging 5 shots on goal per game. That's tied for 4th in the NHL. You look at that Bruins game the other day where Swayman got banged up and stuff like that. They allowed 38 shots on goal in that 6-5 overtime win against Pittsburgh. So, even though it's a matchup between, 2 good goalies, if it's Ullmark against Shesterkin, I still like the chances for a lot of offense there. And Zibanejad has been one of the top flight producers so far this season in all of fantasy.
All right, how about at wing? David Pasternak's going to be at the top of the salary board there, $8,900.
Yeah, I mean, you could safely spend up for Pasternak or Brad Marchand, try to get one of those two into your lineup without a doubt. And crazy that the Boston Bruins are going to be eventually getting Charlie McAvoy back too. I mean, they're already looking like one of the top cup contenders in the league this season. But yeah, back to your question about top wing for tonight. How can you not ride the hot hand with Jesper Bratt? He's playing the Edmonton Oilers in a game that we mentioned could get higher scoring between McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hughes and Bratt. But Bratt's on a 10-game point streak to start the season. 16 points, is tied for 4th in the NHL. The Devils have actually the best road power play in the entire NHL. So get all over that, whether it means spending up for Hughes or, of course, Jesper Bratt riding the hot hand with him. Also, the Edmonton Oilers have the 7th worst penalty kill percentage in the NHL. So that lends a helping hand as well. And then keep an eye on Martin Necas, Carolina Hurricanes. This guy has been one of the breakout players of the season so far, still only 5,900 in DraftKings. So I would get Necas in my mock lineup as well.
We go back to the blue line. We could easily keep targeting that Edmonton, New Jersey game there because Dougie Hamilton is there. He's got a pretty decent salary, 6.7 on DK here, 7 points in 10 games, averaging 3.5 shots on goal per game. What do you think, Pete?
I like that play. You could also look at a revitalized, to say the least, Erik Karlsson out in San Jose. They play the Panthers. You'll have to spend up for him pretty dearly, though. He's up to 7,300, leads all defensemen in the NHL, Erik Karlsson, EK65, as we called him back in his prime. He's looking like the Karlsson of old. With 9 goals, leads all defensemen and 15 points in 12 games. And remember, they traded Brent Burns in the offseason, so he is alone, and that's a good thing on the first power play for San Jose. Even though they're a bad team, he's worth rostering in all fantasy formats. And then I mentioned the McAvoy injury implication whenever he comes back, but you're probably going to get a couple more weeks here, or at least a couple more days, of Hampus Lindholm producing at the clip that he has lately. He's at 4,400 in DraftKings. That's a no-brainer. You got to get Hampus Lindholm into your lineup. 11 points in 10 games. That's 3rd among NHL defensemen in scoring this year. No one would have ever projected this, right? Yeah. It's Erik Karlsson 1, Rasmus Dahlin 2, and Hampus Lindholm, the injury replacement for Charlie Mack at number 3.
Right, for sure. I mean, as we're making our way down the salary board here, we'll get you out of here with this quickly. Who's your top value play tonight?
I'll give you 2. I got Matthew Barzal, New York Islanders, very quietly averaging an assist per game this season, so that gives him a nice floor. He's only at 4,500 in DraftKings, and they're playing the St. Louis Blues, who are reeling right now. They've lost 5 in a row, allowing 25 goals in that span. And then also a hidden gem out in the desert. I like the way the Coyotes are playing in that small college arena, the Mullet Arena, right? They're playing all 3 games competitively so far. They just beat the Florida Panthers there. And look at Lawson Krause. I've liked this guy for a while in season-long formats, and it applies to DFS here as well. Goals in 3 of his past 4 games. I feel like most people around the league don't even know who Lawson Krause is, but he's actually a really good category guy for fantasy.
All right, Pete, good hanging out with you, dude. Thanks for being here on this Thirsty Thursday edition of The Sweat, which will continue after this break. NBA plays are up next.
Welcome into Steals of the Week, presented by Larceny Bourbon. Larceny Bourbon, discover a taste worth stealing. Jesse Cofield and Steve Buchanan here to find some steals or value plays for people playing in Thursday night showdown contest between the Eagles and Texans. So, Steve, they're on the road. They've got a chance to start the season 8-0 for the first time ever Where are you looking for value on the Philly side?
Yeah, it's hard to find value for the Eagles because this offense has been so good that everybody is priced accordingly. But Dallas Goedert has been one of their more consistent receivers all throughout the season. He's averaging just under 6 targets per game, 60 receiving yards. Now, we haven't really seen him get into the red zone, only 1 touchdown on the year, but he's seen at least 1 red zone target in 5 games thus far. So I think if you're looking to go down the board a little bit, Goddard's probably the guy you want to look at.
All right, value play from Houston.
Yeah, so it's starting to sound like Nico Collins is not going to be available for this game. So Philip Dorsett should once again be one of their primary targets in this offense. We saw Philip Dorsett see a season-high 6 targets last week, only had 1 reception, but they really struggled on offense to begin with anyways. But Dorsett playing on 83% of their snaps last week. I think this is a great way to get some value on the Texans.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. And thank you guys for watching Steals of the Week presented by Larceny Bourbon.
Not 1, but 2 games on this Thursday night slate around the association. We're going to play some NBA zone coverage right now with DraftKings contributor Gary and Thorne, RotoWire's Nick Whalen. So the DFS zone, that'll be Gary and Nick. You're going to cover the sportsbook zone of this. I'm going to try not to screw it up this time. So let's start in DFS, Gare Bear. Warriors Magic. Who was the best play in this game tonight?
Well, there's a lot of star power on the Warriors side of this, but I really think Jalen Suggs is probably your best play. He's $5,700, and I don't want to overstate things, but the Magic don't have any guards aside from Jalen Suggs. No Cole Anthony, no Markelle Fultz. Terrence Ross is questionable for this game. Gary Harris is not going to play in this contest. Like, Suggs, they were trying to ease him back in from his injury in their last contest against the Thunder. So he didn't start, but he still played 28 and a half minutes when it was all said and done, hoisted up 14 shots, and had a 27% usage rate. So, Suggs is good in his own right. Obviously there's some lottery pick pedigree there. I think he has high ceiling in a vacuum, but I would expect now 2 games removed from being injured, you're probably looking at a start tonight. You're probably looking at more than 30 minutes. And if he gets anywhere around that 27% usage rate again, which he probably should because he's the only person who should really be handling the ball on this team of, comprised solely of power forwards and centers. I just think he's going to be in a really nice spot to rack up the DraftKings points.
Whalen, Warriors 9-point favorites here on the road. Is that an enticing wager to you, though, if you expect Golden State to get back on track?
Yeah, this number's on the rise. It was a little more enticing when it was sitting at 7.5, roughly 24 hours ago. Golden State's going to get back on track at some point. This has been a really sloppy, lackadaisical start to the season for the Warriors. Defensively, they've been a bottom 10 team. They're right in the middle of the league in terms of offense, but luckily the Orlando Magic are about as good of a matchup as it gets. Talking about another team that's struggling on the offensive end. I think I'm staying away from this spread, though. Golden State going cross-country on the road. I don't love this now that it's all the way up to 9. I think Golden State wins the game, but I think I'd take Orlando to cover this one. And I'm looking at the under on 226 for the total in this game. And again, at some point, Golden State's going to get back on track. Maybe tonight is the night, but I don't trust the Orlando Magic, even against what's been a shaky Golden State defense. Orlando's missing guys, like Arian said. They're a team that just has not been good on offense no matter what. It's kind of tough sledding when you don't really have a healthy point guard.
All right, Gary, and SGA's been great to start the season here. Jokic averaging 21, 11, and 8. Who's the DFS play in that one?
I think it's SGA. He's just so significantly cheaper than Jokic, and really they've given almost identical fantasy production so far this season. SGA is actually averaging more DraftKings fantasy points per game. It's really close in terms of DraftKings fantasy points per minute. Jokic is at 1.52. Gilgeous-Alexander is exactly at 1.5. But again, for the price differential you're getting there, it really does lean in terms of points per dollar to Gilgeous-Alexander. And I think it makes sense, and it's fine. It's really fine for the Nuggets. This is a good thing. If you start looking at Jokic's numbers in comparison to last season, he had a 31.5% usage rate in 2021-22. That's down to basically 23.5% this season because Jamal Murray's back and he's scoring over 20 points for the first time. And Michael Porter Jr. looks healthy. Like, ease the burden on Nikola Jokic. And that's exactly what's happened so far this season. And we haven't really seen it show itself in his secondary statistics like rebounding and assists, but he's definitely taking fewer shots. He's scoring almost 6 points per game fewer than he was last season. And yeah, that's annoying if you drafted him first overall. But for the Nuggets, that's exactly what they want to happen. And I think it's going to keep going that way. Whereas SGA, even with Josh Giddey back in the Thunder's last game, he was still by far the focal point of this offense. He's healthy. He looks amazing. He's going to lead Canada to the Olympics for the first time in forever. That we can get into that later. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
But like SGA right now on a per dollar basis is just the superior play.
Yep, 60 fantasy points. He's cleared that twice in the past 4 games, Garen. So they're both 4-3, Nick, on the season. Thunder are home, still 6.5-point dogs. What is the bet in this game?
I like the Thunder to cover this number. I do like Denver to win outright, but I think we get a really close game. I mean, OKC is a legit team right now, and I think at some point they're going to flip that switch and start to kind of enter their name into the Wembanyama sweepstakes. But much like the Utah Jazz, I think we thought maybe that would happen from the jump, and they're playing good basketball. They're fully healthy. SGA has been fantastic so far. I mean, he's been like the number 1 player overall in fantasy, depending on what format you play in. He has been awesome. And Josh Giddey is a fantastic fit. If anything, I wish Chet Holmgren was healthy just to see what he would look like on this team. And Denver's still figuring some things out, still getting Jamal Murray up to speed. Michael Porter Jr. shooting the ball really well, but still a little bit up and down. I think this number is a little too big. So I'll take OKC to cover, but I like Denver to win on the money line. Not a ton of value there. Nikola Jokic, when he plays, 14-3 straight up in his last 17 games against the Thunder.
All right, speaking of value, Garion, who's your top value play between either of these games?
Yeah, not a lot of amazing options, not a lot of high floor options tonight, but I do really like Bones Highland if he's available. He's actually questionable with a hip injury, but again, if he's suiting up for the Nuggets tonight, Bones Highland has no conscience, which is a great place to start for a DFS value play. He's averaging 27.9 field goal attempts per 100 possessions so far this season. For a little context, that's more than Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard. Like, this guy loves to shoot the basketball when he's on the court, and a lot of his minutes do happen to be with Nikola Jokic on the bench. So, you can really be that sort of hub of usage for the Nuggets when Jokic is not on the court. And it seems like Bones Highland is more than happy to step into that role whenever it's given to him. So again, if he's available, I think he's a fantastic play at just 4,400.
Nick, bring us home with your player prop tonight, please.
I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. made threes. The number is sitting at 2.5 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. To me, that is very low. You could get it all the way up to like 4 made threes, and all of a sudden you're in plus money, and that's a lot for any player in the league. But I mean, he's taken at least 10 threes in half of his games already this season. He's got 3, 4, 4, 5, 5 made threes over his last 5 contests. You kind of hope that the minutes start to tick up a little bit for Michael Porter, usually resting in the high 20s. Would like to push that up a little bit. But I think while Jamal Murray is still kind of struggling to regain his previous form, Michael Porter is essentially the number 2 option for this team behind Nikola Jokic. And like Garion said, Jokic's usage is down as a scorer. I mean, he's down like 6-7 points per game so far, taking way fewer shots, way fewer threes. A lot of those are trickling right back down to MPJ.
All right, gentlemen. Good stuff. That's all the time we have. We're wrapping up the show with some Premier League picks. What will Chinmay and AJ's sweaty boot picks be this week? And will they actually hit? Who knows? We're back after this quick break. Final breaking.
So we're about halfway through the season already at this point, which is just amazing to think about how quickly this is going by. Do you have a team that you know of offhand that's been most profitable for the book, and then one team that's been most profitable for the public thus far?
Yeah, I'll give you a few. Philly's been great for the bettors.
Sure.
As well as the Bills. Jets and Giants are played on the money line almost every week, so they've been profitable for the players. I think Falcons, Seahawks, and Tennessee all have been. For the house, probably been the Colts. They've been disappointing, and they seem to take money every week. Packers take money every week. Raiders haven't played well. Jags. Bucks are another one.
Oh.
I mean, the Bucks have, every week, we know they're one of the top betting games and top bet teams. They don't get there. And the Raiders and Chiefs have also been good for the house.
Ah, yes, a Thursday tradition unlike any other. We get some EPL picks from Chinmay Vaidya and RotoWire's AJ Scholes. Good morning, gentlemen. How we doing today? Everyone looks great, dressed up, ready to go. Two marquee matchups this week, guys. Let's start with Chelsea and Arsenal. What's a bet you like here, AJ?
Look, I'm a stay away from the team bets on this one for sure. You've got Chelsea, who haven't lost at home this season with 3 wins and 2 draws, but they're going up against top of the table Arsenal here. Instead, I'm going to look at some of the more unique game props over on the DK Sportsbook. The first one is total corners. I'll take 9.5 over at -130. Both clubs are averaging over 5 corners per match. And then also I'm going to look at yellow cards at over 4.5 here. Comes in at even money. You've got Chelsea averaging about 2 yellows a game. This could be a contentious matchup between top clubs. And so I think we could see some extra corners here. But for me, I'm not touching any sort of money line or anything like that for this one.
Okay, Chinmay, what is your betting approach to this? Chelsea was left depleted by Brighton, dude.
Yeah, it was a tough match for Chelsea, and a lot of Arsenal fans will say that the North London derby is the matchup that really gets them going every single season. This is the one that really scares me, and the one that puts a lot of pressure. I put a lot of pressure on this game because this is that London matchup where Chelsea has kind of been the club that Arsenal has been chasing these last few seasons in terms of success. Chelsea has had more Europe success. They've had more Premier League success. Like AJ mentioned, the game lines are kind of interesting here. It's tough to really look at the game lines and say, you want to take something on the money line. I probably would take Arsenal on the money line just because of the way they're playing right now, but I don't feel too great about that. Arsenal has won the last 3 of the last 5 meetings in the Premier League in this matchup. I also like Arsenal over 1.5 goals, sitting at +140. That's a potential plus money play that you can take. Over 2.5 goals is sitting at -110. That's probably another good one that you can look at, but this is a tough one to call, and it should be a good one, hopefully.
It's another tough one to call. How about the final game of game week 15? Tottenham and Liverpool here, Chinmay. Spurs look better form-wise, huh?
Well, I'm not going to really take any bets on Tottenham, and I have some personal reasons for doing that.
Okay,
but I also do think that Liverpool is starting to turn some things around here. Liverpool have won 7 of the last 9 matches in this matchup. There were 2 draws that happened most recently. So if you're liking the draw in this one, that could be a trend to stick with. But Liverpool has had a lot of success in this matchup. Both teams to score without a draw is sitting at +120, and that could be somewhere to go if you're not really feeling a lean on either team. Liverpool at +110 on the money line, though, is something that I think is an intriguing play, and I would back the Reds here against Tottenham.
What's the best bet here, AJ? Liverpool got off to that torrid start.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to back Tottenham in this one simply by taking them on the money line at +220. Yes, obviously you don't have Son with him being out after that orbital fracture, but Richarlison seems to be trending in the right direction. Could step into the lineup for them tonight. Of course, they still have Harry Kane, but this is a Liverpool side that has yet to secure a road victory this season. I know Chinmay talked about the recent matchups between these two clubs, but look, what have you done for me lately? How is this season going? They have struggled on the road, and that includes draws against Fulham and Everton, clubs that they certainly should be beating, and the defeat to Nottingham Forest, which was just 2 weeks ago. I don't trust Liverpool on the road, so I think Tottenham gets it done in this one.
Gentlemen, you know what time it is. It is time for Das Sweaty Boot. You both barely missed last week. Barely. But you still missed. 2 losers. Give us your favorite bet of the week, AJ. Come on, man.
I mean, yeah, KDB for the assist. Got a goal instead. I'm sorry, he overperformed. But look, I'm going to stay away from City this week. I've had too many heartbreaks with them on the sweaty boot, which of course means they're probably going to win 5-0 with multiple goals from Holland and a KDB assist. But I'm going to just look to my boys in blue, the Toffees. It's a home matchup with Leicester City, who are sitting in the relegation zone. Seems too early to call this a must-win for Everton, but I think it is. They have been a little inconsistent at Goodison Park, but again, it's a home matchup for Everton. I'll take them on the money line at plus 140 here.
All right, Chinmay, what's it going to be this week? Your sweaty boot pick.
The logical thing for me to do here would be to just take the opposite of what AJ said.
Yeah,
and then at least somebody gets a W in the sweaty boot.
But then it would be
I
a
won't
draw.
be doing that,
It would end
though.
up being a draw if you take it.
I won't be doing that, though. I like Newcastle. I'm going to go with the Newcastle win and over 1.5 total goals against Southampton. That's coming in at plus 135. 9 of the 13 matches that Newcastle has played have gone over 1.5 total goals, and Newcastle has won 5 of those matches.
Yeah.
So I'm backing Newcastle here to keep this good thing going for my sweaty boot pick of the week.
AJ, can you just clarify your pick one more time, please, for those of us who are confused? You're taking
simply Everton on the money line.
Everton money line. That's it. That's great. Sorry, the producers in the back were confused. They probably weren't paying attention like I was. Anywho, gentlemen, I wish you both well. I hope this is the weekend that both of your sweaty boot picks finally hit. Again, listen to every other bet these two dish out, and they do the complete opposite of what they recommend for the sweaty boot pick. That's a show, everybody. We are in my living room tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time for a Friday edition of The Sweat. We'll see you then.